When I decide to do this 10-part series, I have something in my mind. By doing this, it first of all requires courage. Why? Because I know some people will shoot me. I know somebody would not like to hear this. Somebody would behind the scene talk about me and say, what's your motive of doing this? Are you doing this because you want to recruit students? You might be wrong. You might be wrong if you think about that's the case. In this episode, which is the final episode, episode 10, I'd like to wrap up why this is the case. Why did I decide to do this 10-part series? First of all, if you notice this pattern of the God trainers, which I've summarized in the previous 9 episodes, there's a very common theme there. The only thing that I would like to always comment is the fact that they might say to the people that they live in abundance mindset. However, the behaviors, the pattern is to make the other guys lose, operating in scarcity mindset. So like I said at the beginning, I have no problem of whoever you decide to train and what topic you train and what else you want to do for your people. But I'm coming from the world of what I would call the abundance mindset. Now, Jack talks about abundance mindset by saying that money is important. If you want to train with me, I will see if I want to get any money from you or if I am able to get any money from you. So I'm not saying that I do any training for free. I don't, because I'm not cheap. Okay, I have to actually mention this very loud and clear. Now, the second thing is this. If you think that I come from a scarcity mindset by putting other people down, I'm not actually doing this. In fact, I can tell you in this Asian market, we have a few interesting people. I will just summarize a few simply because I hope that most people don't fall into these categories, and that's why I decided to come up with this term called the God trainers. The God trainers feel that they are the best in town. They are the God, and that's why I call them the God. And they would inspire, impact their students, making them believe that the God trainers, whatever the God trainer says is true. So I come from this mindset, what I would call, okay, be critical with what the people on stage say to you, and you don't just take it as it is. Like everything that you receive, I want you to actually ask yourself this question: is it reliable? Is it believable? Or by accepting what the God trainer said on stage, what would be the consequences? You've got to understand at the end of the day that you will be the only person taking charge of your life, and no one else except you who will be doing this. I'm not going to be responsible for what I'm saying here to you because I don't live your life. If you choose to believe the God trainers thinking that they are the God, then so be it. It's your choice. My point come from this space, in the training space, is very simple. Put this way, I would say I respect the teaching of certain people. I respect because what they teach actually a real deal. Okay? I do not judge a person by the person himself or herself. I segmentize, or I actually sort of sift and separate a person from what he teaches and from who he is. And that's what I have noticed in the last few years. Very, very truthfully, there are 2 words that you might want to be watching out for. The first word is called idolization, which is basically the noun of following someone as an idol. So what is idol? Idol means that you follow the person, and regardless of what the person says on stage or offline, you just believe everything is true, because reality is that you only believe something that something is true. Okay, let me put it this way: something is true when you believe, isn't it? So the question is that if you see someone as the idol, it's kind of like telling you whatever the person says, it must be true, and nobody else except the person who said this is true, is telling the truth. And therefore what we call the God trainers, because the message that the message coming from the person is always true. That's what I call the idol. And sometimes if someone else has decided to attack the God trainers, you know what? The community will gang up and say, hey, you know what? This guy is a betrayer. This guy is going to be some noisemaker, and let's or whack the person. So this is what I call the community power to override someone like me who want to say something against what you like to hear from the God trainers. That's fine. Second word is mentor. So in that, I put it as a noun, is mentorization. It's a process of looking for mentor. Where what I'm saying is that idolization is following whatever the person says and believe everything coming from that person is true. What is mentorization? Mentorization process is I look at the person from what he or she is teaching, not the person himself or herself. It just looking at the matter objectively. For example, I give you some insights. For example, like Sifu Dan Lok. For example, I like his personality, and at the same time, what I love more is the fact that he has inspired me to think about how to scale a business, not by doing the business in the first place, but affirming the fact that I have to have the high income skill first. So this is something that I believe is true, and having a high income skill, knowing how to close high ticket is a lot more important than building a business, because like I said in the previous episode, if you build a business but you don't know how to sell, you don't know how to close, it is suicidal. It doesn't make sense, right? So having high income skills actually work. So I quote an example, like my teacher Blessinger. So I love the fact that I may not necessarily like Blair's personality. I have to be very, very objective here. I'm not saying Blair is no good. I'm just saying that I do not necessarily like Blair's personality. And so his all of my teachers. I do not necessarily like all my teachers. But what I like, the fact Blair has mentioned, is respect the brilliance in the room. Making these people in the room smarter, wiser, and taking action by giving what we have got in terms of the facilitation skill. Because the God trainers think that they are the God, they should be the one answering all the questions. They disregard the brilliance in the room, something that I don't really believe. Okay, so I love the fact that Blair has inspired me to respect the brilliance in the room by improving my facilitation skill, draw the lessons out, making the learning easier. That's what I learned from Blair. And for example, I talk about another teacher of mine, Alex Mandosian. I love the fact that Alex Mandosian's teaching makes a lot of sense because he is operating based on a couple of the very fundamental principles. For example, the classic ones I always cite: sloppy success is better than perfect mediocrity. What does it mean? It means that being a perfectionist will enable you not to finish the job. Being a procrastinator will ensure that you never start to work, right? At the same time, he has another very interesting one, which I use the principle on a lot of my coaching students. Dream big and act small. It's always okay, it's perfectly powerful, useful to dream big because you want a big vision, big picture. However, your action step has to be small, because if the action steps are too big, you can't move forward. You become procrastinator in default, okay? So hence, this principle allows me to help a lot of my coaching students to think, okay, sometimes it's not good to overcommit and therefore under-deliver. By taking a few steps, celebrate the win, it allows me to become more and more confident to make more steps along the path towards success. So this coaching principle helps me to inspire quite a lot of my students to move or to take action, and it's a very powerful principle. So it affects me, it happens on me, it happens on my coaching students. So I adopt the learning from my teachers in different aspects, in different dimensions, by looking at the principles objectively without regard of who they are in terms of personality. Of course, behind the scene, if you know my teachers better, you know that they all have their own personality. I'm not saying that I do necessarily like the personality. Like I said, I admire the fact that they are successful, and there are always reasons why they are successful. So God trainers, if you are hearing this, what I'm only telling you is that focus on what you teach to impact, inspire, and influence your students. Not really judging other trainers out there, saying that these guys are not good, these guys is unnecessary. So this 10 bar series hopefully give students, give the listeners, the followers a very important message. There are people who have attitude issues out there. There are people who have ego issue out there. I'm not saying that I don't have ego. I do have ego. Sometimes my ego is big. However, in this context, let's compete with ourselves. Let's teach our students based on what we're good at and teach experiences, not theory. Teach only things that work. So in that respect, I agree with all the God trainers out there. It is important principle. But what is more important is people will respect you even more when you focus your time only on your students, not judging how other people do the work, how the other people's stuff are not working with you guys. You can make any comments only if you have already experienced other trainers' processes. Otherwise, like what I've said in previous episode, that is only an opinion. And this society is already full of opinion, and I do not think that we need another opinion which is just too much. Okay, so this 10-part series hopefully will give you a perspective of the trainers market, the speakers market in Asia, and let's build this market and make it a better place, because a lot of students need the real world education. And let's all do our own part to help this market grow without putting other people's down. This is unnecessary, and that only means that the person has ego or some scarcity mindset. All right, so thanks once again for watching this 10-part series. I hope that you learned something. If you have any questions, comments, let me know. Hopefully you will follow my word in future, because I love doing this kind of video for in terms of a series. So if you have any suggestions or what you want me to create next time, let me know too, because I'm going to create a series of this kind of small or bite-sized videos to give you some of the Jack Wong's perspective. All right, so thanks for watching, and thanks for supporting this 10-part series. Jack Wong here, I'm signing off. Have a nice day. Bye bye.